Hello, back in Dreamforce 2014, I'm Patrick Mulhern, and I'm here with Joshua Bloom, the CTO of Wise.io. So you guys are big fellow nerds because you're doing predictive analysis, which is a big math thing, so I'm excited. And you guys announced, alongside the new thing from Salesforce, Wave. Can you give us a little intro of Wave before we talk about your product and how it latches on?
Yeah, so Wave is Salesforce's new BI tool. So if you think about Tableau and the kind of space that they're in, this is something Salesforce wants to keep within the whole Salesforce family and the ecosystem. It's a beautiful dashboard tool, and it allows people to sort of roll up data and make their own reports without having to have a great amount of technical skill.
And it's a little more advanced than they already have reporting, as everybody knows. So it's a little more advanced than that, getting more power out of that.
That's right. You can do time series, and it really is a way to slice and dice the data in intelligent ways, and in a way that's more intuitive than what they currently have in Force.com.
So how does your product, Wise.io, actually latch on and just improve it?
Well, we do predictive analytics, and in particular we do machine learning. So we just pull in data from every data source we can get our hands on that a company is willing to give us. Salesforce data, data from Marketo, HubSpot, Zendesk, you name it. And we push our predictions back into the systems that they want to consume the data in. So in the case of Wave, we'd be pushing data back into custom objects, and they'd be able to consume our predictions in intelligent ways.
And that's important to note, because you're not taking all these, the data sets are in different places for storage reasons often. So you actually do all your work and send back just the answer rather than the whole data set.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We wind up having the data in our own system so that we can build models. Historical data and historical answers is the key to making these predictions for the future. If I want to know something about something that hasn't happened before, the only way to know that is from learning from the past. And so having all that data in hand, well curated, and as big as you want to get it, that's where we shine.
So I've done some predictive analysis in my own career, and obviously the hardest thing is having the buy-in from the executives or the C-suite of like, is this for real? So how do you guys go about actually proving to the companies like, yeah, we're taking your data, turning around and giving you the answer, and you can believe it?
It's really easy to take a lot of data, a lot of answers, and build a model that gives you a perfect result. And the problem there is that you're overfitting on the data that you have. So there are techniques that we've developed and others have developed that we've brought alongside our technologies that allow us to essentially hold back some amount of data, convince ourselves what the answers are going to wind up being and how good and accurate our models are going to be on new data we haven't seen. But the real special thing we do in our engagements, which typically take only about a week or two, is to take possession of all these different data sets, build a model, but we ask the business owners to hold back some, not only historical data, but actually some of the historical answers, so that when we build a model and say, here's your report of what your ROI is going to be, or here's what your report on your lift is going to be over your current benchmark, they'll basically say BS. How can you possibly beat what we've been doing for the last 20 years in-house? And we'll say, give us some new data, hold back the answers, and they do, and then we show it to them, and we typically shine.
A little check and balance right there.
So it's kind of a trust but verify thing in the early going. But we really try to get in production. We wind up making money when our predictions are consumed in a workflow that companies are typically already using, but maybe they have people looking at data and making decisions, or they have business rules that they've been building up over the last couple of years and manually curating. Essentially what machine learning is doing is inferring those business rules, inferring what people would say about the same data. And it can look like magic because we don't know a company's business nearly as well as they do. But in the end, if you're fully data-driven, the data kind of speaks, and it is the thing that becomes the most predictive.
So you mentioned that it can take you about a week to actually get this up and running. Is that because you're kind of segmented in specific markets and you do know them, or have you guys kind of gone out to just anyone with data, we can figure this out?
Well, we're fairly industry agnostic. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges around data that can't be put into the cloud, because generally we're doing all of our work in the cloud. So financial data, medical data, those have their own challenges around them. But apart from that, we really don't care where the data comes from, what it's about, as long as it's about customer behavior. So if there are touch points that a company has with their customers and it lives in a custom database, and we can take that data for a while and actually configure our system to it, we're ready to rock on it. If it's all within Salesforce, we're ready to rock on that as well. A big part of doing machine learning well at scale is not just getting data dumps from, say, Salesforce, but it's crossing data silos. It's getting your app usage data, if you're a SaaS-based company, in the form of Mixpanel data. And how do I know who a user is in Mixpanel and sort of connect them to who they are in Salesforce? And once we can do that, effectively it's an ETL process that we have to do on the data science side to then pull all those signals over, build our models, and push back the results.
And hopefully the regulators on those other industries can get their stuff together and get it in cloud so you can spread the predictive analysis love a little further.
Well, that's happening, but as you mentioned earlier, it's the C-types and the business owners who are naturally very wary about data that's important to their own business, leaving their walled garden. Yep. And for us, if we can get to that moment of, hey, let's just give this a try, let's make sure that there's something there, then we can have a conversation about how do we do this in a secure cloud that is HIPAA compliant. So we've been able to have those conversations, but it's really on the business buyer to make the decision they want to take the plunge to try out predictive analytics.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the C-suite is often very possessive of their data because they think that heralds their inherent business advantage, so they don't want to give it up, and then apparently they're afraid that you may turn around and start a competitor. But how does someone actually get their hands on Wise.io? Is there, App Exchange? Where do we find it?
So the easiest thing to do is just go to our website, sign up for a demo, and depending upon your use case, we'll be able to show you all the different demos we have. If you're using Pardot for leads, we've got an app that basically integrates with Pardot, pulls over that data, and pushes the results back in. If you've got basically all of your data inside of Salesforce, we'll show you how we take that data over and push it back in. But we also have an app that sits on top of Zendesk, where if somebody is using Zendesk for their support, we don't even have to talk with them. They can go in and OAuth themselves on, and actually we pull over all those tickets behind the scenes automatically. We build those models automatically. We essentially have our machines learn about your business and how your customers talk to you and what problems they're having, and then we wind up automatically routing tickets based on all these models we build behind the scenes. That's a completely self-service, sort of self-packaged app. And if people really want to try that out, that's probably the easiest, lowest friction thing to do.
All right, check it out, Wise.io. You might get some extra revenue out of that business. Thanks so much.
Thank you.